What's up, YouTube? It's Rad Gaming Dad, and this here's Avid X, and we are going to be talking about Game Boy Advance today. I was just graduated high school, and Avid was a junior, and him and a buddy of mine were really hyped to get Game Boy Advance when it came out. So I had just heard about this whole experience that they were like planning on camping out at some point that night. So they got me on board, and I reserved mine. And then, like, the wait to get it.
I think Greg was excited about it before I was, I think.
Oh, yeah. He got Avid on board, and I mean, it was, like, the day after we graduated. So, like, I didn't have school, and we were waiting for him to get out of class so that we could go pick him up. Because, like, I think they were supposed to come out at, like, midnight that night, and then they ended up coming out, like, in the afternoon.
And we would have got it the next day. And we went in there, and I remember seeing him in there. And this, like, we got the old lady and you know, like, the intensity's building and stuff, and she gave them to us.
Yeah, it was tight.
I felt like I was doing something illegal.
We were really quite anxiously waiting for Chris to get out of school so that we could go and get these dang things, because they were there. We could have got it then, but we had, like, all sort of made a pact that it's like, okay, well, we're gonna wait so that all of us can get them at the same time. I'll open them at the same time and whatever. So me and Greg are rolling around town for like the last half an hour of this wait, just completely bored out of our mind, and just driving around with the windows down, screaming Game Boy Advance at like everybody we saw, which ended up becoming like this really huge thing over the years. Like the magnitude of Game Boy Advance got to the point where we were screaming at it all sorts of people, and probably the most memorable, at least early on, is when we were all hyped about getting our Xboxes when they first came out, and Taco Bell was doing this promotion where you got all these tickets and you went and registered. I think it was like like one every hour or something, one every minute. Anyway, we had got a couple of quesadillas, and we're driving back from Taco Bell, and we're still just like yelling Game Boy Advance. It was like weeks that we were doing this for. And we drive through my neighborhood, and I thought I saw a rabbit. So I yell out my friend Greg's window, "Hey, Mr. Bunny Rabbit, it's a quesadilla advanced!" And not 5 minutes later, the sheriff knocks on my mom's door, and he's like, I want to know who was out there yelling at my cat. They're driving that car," and they pointed on Greg's car in the driveway, and we were so scared that we were in trouble. But in terms of what we thought of Game Boy Advance when it first came out, like, probably, I don't know who knows about the original Game Boy Advance, but it was dark. There was no backlight, and Avid was immediately disappointed.
Yeah. No, I think we opened them in the car right when we got them or something, and the minute I turned it on, I was pissed because the screen was so dark. I just didn't understand how. And plus, well, when you're sitting in a car and you got the sun shining on it, you had to have it on the right angle.
Yeah, we were trying to play it at the picnic table outside my house, and it was impossible. I remember like trying to find anywhere to play my Game Boy Advance, and I had got Castlevania Circle of the Moon. It was the first of the series that came out on Game Boy Advance.
And I got Tony Hawk.
But you couldn't see it. Like, I remember going all over my house, like moving the thing.
You had to get the light, and you had to be in like a dark space with the actual light angle just properly.
So when the SP came out, that was a breath of fresh air. But I think like a lot of the early adopters of the GBA were probably fairly fed up, and they had like other things. They had like peripherals that you had like snap-on lights that helped some.
Oh yeah,
but why? Out of the box, it's bullcrap.
The real fans are just completely upset because the pictures that they showed online are bright, beautiful colored games, and then you see this system. To be honest with you, like Game Boy Color to me, even though it wasn't the same style, was actually more visible.
Yeah,
it's easier to see.
Absolutely, and it was more exciting because of that. I mean, you held this thing for the first time, and it's like, this is amazing, because now it was like the first time that you could have something that was like 16-bit, like Super Nintendo, maybe a little bit better quality. At least that's what it looked like for me.
Yeah, my personal impression is I thought it was going to be like PlayStation 1 almost or something.
Right.
Tony Hawk was isometric, but they created it in a way to make it have a like a 3D feel to it. And I've actually watched videos since then of the developers and stuff talking about that game. And I mean, it was tedious for them to pull it off. But I mean, I actually do love that game looking back.
Right on. Like, I don't know, Circle of the Moon was fun. I mean, it was Castlevania and not... It was almost... I think it was, like, kind of pre-Metroidvania, because it was still, like, Castlevania done with the whip, and I couldn't tell you if it was a Belmont or not. But it was really hard to see because, I mean, atmospherically, Castlevania needs to be kind of dark anyway. But, you know, but it was still exciting to have that kind of graphical capability in a handheld, because, like, the jump was... what used to be black and white is now kind of in color a bit better to, wow, now it's this, and the graphics are incredible. I mean, not being able to see it, it's kind of like Virtual Boy almost,
Yeah,
like that kind of disappointment.
And really, like, we were just kind of wanting to relive our childhood with the original Game Boys and stuff with this. It was kind of a joke buying it in the first place.
Yeah.
It was like we were too old. It felt, it was kind of embarrassing that we were buying it. That's kind of like the whole yelling out the Game Boy Advance thing, because when I got in the car and we yelled it, I remember thinking we yelled it at some kids or something like that, like, Game Boy Advance! It's so stupid, but it's the fact that it's a Game Boy and then they throw the word Advance on it. It's just as dumb as the name Wii.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's Nintendo, though. I mean,
yeah, and Nintendo's going to be amazing no matter what till the end of, I don't know, however they can't squeeze any more money out of the franchises, and I'll keep buying them as long as they exist.
I'm a Nintendo fan, even though I don't have any of the new systems. I had a Wii, but I sold it. But I'm still a Nintendo fan, you know, and I'll always be a fan of the characters. So,
in terms of Nintendo hardware, it's always been an experiment. Some work, some don't, and that was a leap forward. So, regardless of whether or not it was perfect, it was.
Last question though: Do you want a Game Boy Advance? Do you still have your Game Boy Advance?
I do. I still have my
you?
original. It's kind of busted up. Like, it bums me out because I don't have my SP, but I do have the original, and I have like a piece of duct tape on the back to hold the batteries in, and this thing still had batteries.
Oh, heck yeah.
Jeez. Thanks for watching the video, guys. I hope that in the comments you can share some of your early experiences with Game Boy Advance or handheld games in general, and please subscribe. Check us out, and if you want to find out some more about Nintendo, we just did another video on Avid's channel about Club Cube. We're going to put the link and probably an annotation somewhere over in this general area, and appreciate you watching.
Thanks for watching.
Yep, peace.
Peace.